Picture this. Two men stand at the edge of a great cliff. One is wearing heavy chains, meticulously crafted, each link a promise, a responsibility, a debt to the past. He looks strong, perhaps noble, weighed down by the gravity of his choices. He is the man of commitment. The other man stands completely free, his hands empty, unburdened by ownership or obligation. He is defined solely by his radical, frightening optionality. He is the man who refuses commitment. Everyone in a world obsessed with stability and structure tells you the man in chains is the honorable one, the solid foundation. Everyone says the free man is merely a wanderer, a fleeting shadow without substance. But Friedrich Nietzsche, the philosopher who dared to look into the abyss of human values, would laugh at this conventional wisdom. Nietzsche understood that gravity is the enemy of power. He knew that the moment you bind yourself to a person, to a belief, to a fixed career path, you surrender your most vital resource, leverage. According to this dangerous philosophy, the man who refuses commitment does not just hold some cards. He holds all the cards. He is the master of the game because he has unilaterally exempted himself from the rules of emotional consequence. Before we delve deeper into this dangerous philosophy and how it remakes the landscape of personal power, I want to know where this perspective is landing today. Drop your city in the comments. Let the world know where this revolution of strategic thought is beginning its ascent. Now let us define the foundation of this immense power. The committed man, the man who has voluntarily forged his own chains, operates under what we can call the principle of fixed investment. His commitment is not merely a choice, it is an active transfer of power. He has invested time, emotional capital, security, and identity into an external structure, the relationship, the job title, the public oath. This investment creates his most profound weakness, vulnerability to loss. He has something to protect, something to lose, and that need is the anchor that renders him immobile. His past dictates his present, and his present is burdened by the necessity of preserving the future he promised. He is predictable because his actions are constrained by the preservation of his investment. The man who refuses commitment, however, operates from a state of pure, strategic nihilism concerning external attachments. He makes no promises he cannot instantly revoke. He builds no structure he cannot immediately abandon. His power is derived from his utter lack of need. When you need nothing, you maintain maximum mobility and, crucially, maximum psychological leverage. This is not about being a casual player. This is an existential stance. His existence is defined by his capacity for spontaneous self-reinvention. He can walk away from any situation, a negotiation, a partnership, an engagement, at any moment, and the cost of this departure to him is negligible. Here is the essential, brutal physics of human interaction. Power always flows to the party who cares less. Commitment is the definitive proof that you care more. The committed person has signaled their willingness to endure pain, sacrifice freedom, and tolerate poor treatment because the cost of leaving is too high. The uncommitted man, by contrast, operates with an implied perpetual exit clause. Every interaction with him is a temporary privilege, a borrowed moment that can be reclaimed without notice. This inherent unpredictability creates a subtle, debilitating tension in the committed partner. The committed partner is constantly managing the anxiety of the free man's potential departure, while the free man is merely enjoying the landscape. Nietzsche would view the refusal of commitment not as moral failing, but as a superior act of self-mastery. The committed man is beholden to others' expectations, trapped in the herd morality that champions stability above all else. He trades his radical freedom for the sedative comfort of acceptance. The uncommitted man, however, is charting his own path, defining his own value without recourse to external validation. His freedom is not a means to an end. It is the ultimate expression of his will to power. Consider the dynamic in any long-term relationship where one partner demands assurance and the other refuses to provide it. The demanding partner is attempting to transfer the chains of commitment onto the free man, seeking to equalize the emotional investment. The man who refuses commitment understands that this equalization is a demotion. He knows that his power rests in the imbalance. Every time the committed partner asks, pleads, or threatens, they are confirming his strategic superiority. Their distress signals their vulnerability, and their vulnerability is his leverage. He does not need to be aggressive. He does not need to be loud. He simply needs to be. His silence on the future, his slight emotional distance, his persistent optionality, these are his true weapons. They force the committed party to perpetually bid for his presence. The committed party invests more, tries harder, becomes more accommodating, not out of genuine love or respect for the free man's character, but out of a desperate, primal fear of his unannounced exit. The man who refuses commitment never has to demand effort. The fear of his loss generates effort automatically. This is the psychological high ground. When you refuse to commit, you force the other party to operate from a position of chronic supply-side anxiety. They are supplying emotional validation, loyalty, and efforts to a demand that is constantly fluctuating and can never be fully met. Why? Because the uncommitted man's demand is not for them. His demand is for his own unbound future. And no external party can ever fully satisfy the internal desire for absolute radical freedom. The greatest philosophical tragedy of the committed man is that he believes his loyalty will be rewarded with stability. He believes his chains will eventually secure the free man. But the man who refuses commitment sees the committed man's loyalty not as a virtue to be reciprocated, but as a mathematical certainty to be utilized. Loyalty becomes a predictable variable in his equation for personal gain. He views the committed man's investment not as sacred, but as a sunken cost. The more the committed man invests, the less likely he is to leave, even when the relationship provides diminishing returns. This is where the power of the uncommitted becomes most absolute. He can continue to demand and extract resources, time, attention, affection, fidelity, while offering only the illusion of permanence. Think about how this applies beyond romance. In a career, the employee who has invested 20 years in one company is the most committed. He is easily controlled because his commitment to the pension, the title, and the routine has shackled him. He will tolerate stagnant wages and poor management because the cost of starting over is existentially terrifying. The employee who refuses to commit, the highly skilled, highly mobile contractor or consultant, holds all the leverage. They demand top dollar, set their own hours, and dictate the terms of engagement. Why? Because they operate from the external state. They have no fear of being fired. Their only fear is being tied down. Their constant optionality makes them indispensable and terrifying to management. They are negotiating from a position of, "We need you," while the committed employee is negotiating from a position of, "I need this job." Nietzsche understood that the only true power is self-ownership. Any form of commitment is a partial abdication of that ownership. When you commit, you allow your identity to become contingent upon an external factor. Your success is tied to the survival of the relationship. Your value is tied to the permanence of the job. Your happiness is tied to the fidelity of the agreement. The man who refuses commitment rejects this contingency. His identity is built entirely on the internal foundation of self-will. He is sovereign. If the relationship ends, his identity is unharmed. He simply moves on to the next environment where his freedom can be expressed. If the job dissolves, he does not suffer loss. He celebrates the spontaneous opportunity for self-renewal. He is invulnerable because he has structured his life around impermanence, making permanence his greatest tool for leverage. The tragedy for the committed person is that they mistakenly believe that their investment will eventually lead to the free man's capitulation. They believe that their demonstrated loyalty will somehow shame or compel him into settling down. But the man who refuses commitment sees this attempt as what it truly is, a desperate maneuver by the bound to trap the free. And every pressure applied only reinforces his belief that the chains of commitment are indeed toxic to his self-creation. The more desperately you seek to define him, the more fluidly he escapes definition. We are forced to confront a brutal truth. The committed man is strong in promise but weak in action, burdened by the past and the future. The uncommitted man is weak in promise but strong in action, purely focused on maximizing advantage in the present moment. He is the existential predator in the human jungle, constantly optimizing his position while others are focused on maintaining their cages. This imbalance of freedom creates a profound emotional inequality, ensuring that the uncommitted party always dictates the terms, always controls the pace, and always holds the final terrifying veto. This is the hidden genius of non-commitment, the dark secret of leverage that Nietzsche illuminates. It is not an act of immaturity or avoidance. It is an act of sophisticated, self-serving power maximization. He refuses the anchor because he understands that the ship that is always ready to sail is the one that sets the price of passage for everyone else. His power lies not in what he does, but in what he might do, or more accurately, what he might stop doing. The moment he commits, he loses that terrifying, compelling uncertainty, and the balance of power shifts instantly. This is why he cannot and will not surrender the advantage. The chains are heavy, and the sky is beckoning. This entire framework challenges everything you were taught about what constitutes strength and honor in human relations. If you are starting to see the true strategic power of maintaining optionality, if this has shifted your perspective on freedom, affirm your commitment to this new line of strategic thinking right now. Write this phrase in the comments: "My freedom is the ultimate leverage." Show the community you are ready to discard the heavy chains of convention. Now take the decisive step and join the strategic minds who refuse to be manipulated by external expectations. Hit that like button to acknowledge the brutal reality of power, and subscribe to ensure you never miss an essential truth that society tries to hide. The next time we gather, we must confront the darkest implication of this commitment-free doctrine. We will explore the devastating consequence for those trapped on the committed side of the dynamic, looking specifically at how the man who refuses commitment weaponizes expectation and detachment to achieve near-total emotional control. Get ready, because the strategic tools we discuss next will expose how vulnerability is engineered and how radical self-interest wins every time. The refusal of commitment is not simply a preference for freedom or a childish fear of responsibility. It is, according to the stark philosophy of Friedrich Nietzsche, the ultimate strategic positioning, a demonstration of the will to power executed through existential avoidance. The man who refuses to be tied down is the one who, paradoxically, maintains maximum gravity, drawing all available resources toward himself because he has made himself perpetually scarce. He understands that to commit is to sacrifice optionality, and in the Nietzschean landscape, optionality is currency, leverage, and the very structure of sovereignty. Consider the architecture of desire. Commitment acts as a static shield, a definitive answer that eliminates the exhilarating, intoxicating necessity of pursuit. The committed man is a known quantity. His future is largely predictable, his path laid out, his value fixed within the boundaries of the promise he has made. But the uncommitted man exists in a state of eternal becoming. He is the open horizon, the perpetually unfinished project. And it is precisely this ambiguity, this unowned potential, that grants him staggering psychological power. The world, and especially those who seek to define him, whether partners, employers, or institutions, cannot pin him down. They cannot assess his full worth, because his worth is constantly increasing due to his refusal to be measured. This refusal is not merely tactical, it is a profound philosophical statement. To commit, in the Nietzschean sense, is often to embrace the morality of the herd. Society demands commitment, marriage, mortgages, long-term contracts, because these chains stabilize the collective and make the individual predictable and thus controllable. The man who resists these structures is an immediate anomaly, a source of profound discomfort to the settled and the safe. He embodies the terrifying possibility that they too could choose non-alignment, that their own chosen cages are purely voluntary. This discomfort translates directly into fascination, and crucially, into the need to conquer the anomaly. The uncommitted man is desired not just for who he is today, but for all the futures he might represent. Every interaction with him is heightened by the unspoken, visceral knowledge that it is finite, conditional, and could end at his own unpredictable volition. This creates an emotional leverage that the committed man can never possess. The committed man must constantly work to maintain the perceived value of an assured asset. The uncommitted man, however, is a constantly fluctuating stock market, always threatening to withdraw, forcing those around him to constantly invest more energy, more patience, more emotional capital, just to keep him in orbit. He holds the ultimate veto power over the shared reality, and the perception of ultimate control is the essence of psychological dominance. We must understand this as a power structure, not merely a lifestyle choice. The man who retains the right to walk away holds the balance of consequence. If a conflict arises, if a relationship falters, if a professional negotiation stalls, the committed individual must weigh the cost of departure against the pain of staying. He has anchored himself, emotionally, logistically, financially, and his options are finite and expensive. The uncommitted man, light and mobile, faces no such internal bureaucracy of regret. His calculation is simpler. Is this serving my will to power? If the answer is no, the cost of his exit is negligible, often zero, paid only by those left behind who had staked their stability on his presence. This dynamic is ruthlessly effective in the modern landscape. Think of professional commitments. The employee who refuses to be pigeonholed, who avoids signing the non-compete clauses of total corporate identity, remains a perpetual free agent. He may be viewed with suspicion by the organization, but he is also viewed with essential respect and necessity, precisely because he refuses to surrender his external market value. He cannot be taken for granted. He cannot be relied upon to be the good soldier who sacrifices personal growth for the company's long-term stability. He is a mercenary of his own talent, and mercenaries often command higher premiums because their loyalty is transactional, not existential. In personal relationships, this refusal elevates him to the status of a permanent quest. Those who pursue him are chasing the ghost of potential, the tantalizing promise of permanence that he eternally withholds. This perpetual hunger feeds his ego and reinforces his chosen solitude. The need for commitment is a form of vulnerability, an admission of dependency, and desire for mutual support. By refusing this vulnerability, the uncommitted man projects an image of self-sufficiency so complete, it appears almost godlike. He is his own center, requiring no external validation or anchor. And now, as we dissect the mechanics of this relentless self-sovereignty, take a moment. If this deep dive into radical freedom and the philosophy of commitment has seized your attention, if this narrative is making you reevaluate the chains you may have chosen, I must know where this thought revolution is taking place. Tell me, what city are you listening from right now? This global community of discerning minds is vital. Returning to the crux of the matter, Nietzsche's critique of commitment is rooted in his concept of the Übermensch, the self-overcomer. The committed man accepts definitions. He agrees to be bound by his past decisions. He has determined who he is, thereby stopping the process of becoming. The uncommitted man, conversely, keeps all possibilities alive. He is in a constant state of self-fashioning, refining his character and expanding his capabilities, always preparing for the great test of the eternal recurrence. If he had to live this life moment by moment infinitely again, would he be able to embrace every decision, every experience? Commitment to a stable, fixed life might fail this terrifying test. The commitment refuser, however, constantly audits his life for maximum intensity and possibility, ensuring that if this moment returns, it will be a moment of pure, radical self-affirmation. This power is not merely the power to walk away. It is the power to compel the other party to modify their reality to accommodate your non-commitment. They accept the terms you set, the limited time, the lack of guarantee, the conditional nature of the bond, because the cost of losing access to your potential is perceived as greater than the discomfort of the instability you provide. This dynamic is a cold-blooded exercise in value proposition. The uncommitted man is saying, "My value is so high, my optionality so vital, that you will accept an unstable relationship with me rather than a stable relationship with someone else." This is how he holds all the cards. He has successfully shifted the burden of instability onto the desiring party. Furthermore, the man who refuses commitment leverages the concept of the unknown future. He has an aura of mystery. What will he do next? Who will he choose next? Where will he go next? This uncertainty breeds fascination and speculation. Contrast this with the committed man, whose future is already factored into the market price. The committed relationship, job, or path offers safety, but lacks the charge of possibility. The uncommitted life offers danger, chaos, and the promise of radical transformation, all qualities that, though feared by the herd, are intensely attractive to those seeking meaning beyond the mundane. The greatest source of power for the uncommitted man lies in the resentment he inspires. Those who are committed resent him because he highlights their own sacrifices. They have paid the price of stability, the dulling of ambition, the flattening of spontaneity, the shared compromises, and they are constantly looking for the free agent to stumble. But as long as he thrives, he serves as a living, breathing accusation of their own existential cowardice. This resentment is a form of tribute. It is acknowledgement that he possesses a freedom they lack the courage to claim. This state of non-commitment is a calculated risk, a life lived constantly on the strategic edge. It requires immense self-discipline, as the emotional comfort of stability is always a tempting snare. He must constantly justify his freedom, not to others, but to himself, by ensuring that his life of non-alignment truly leads to greater power and self-overcoming, not just mere avoidance or isolation. He must be certain that he is choosing freedom for strength, not merely choosing loneliness out of fear. This is the developing philosophy of the man who refuses to be owned. He turns his freedom into a weapon, his optionality into leverage, and his refusal of definition into a state of perpetual desirability. He is not defined by what he has, but by what he refuses to acquire. His life is a testament to the fact that power often resides not in ownership, but in non-possession, not in control over others, but in absolute control over self. The committed world views him as reckless. Nietzsche sees him as strategic. The committed world demands he choose a path. He demands that the path accommodate him unconditionally. He is the master of his own emotional economy, always operating from a position of emotional surplus, because he has refused to invest heavily in relationships that could bankrupt his spirit. He has built his kingdom on the shifting sands of possibility, where others build theirs on the bedrock of certainty. And in a world defined by volatility, the shifting sands offer speed and maneuverability, while the bedrock only offers a clear, stationary target. We are watching a strategic mind at work, a man who has weaponized his internal flexibility. He knows that external commitment often precedes internal erosion, the slow surrender of individual identity to the collective we. By refusing the external contract, he protects the internal state of continuous self-revolution. He ensures that his primary obligation remains to the highest self he is perpetually striving to create. And this leads us toward the inevitable confrontation. What happens when this radical freedom meets its ultimate test? What is the final form of power for the man who has rejected all conventional anchors? We are uncovering profound truths about modern leverage, truths that many prefer to ignore. It is necessary that this information, this perspective, continues to reach those who are ready to hear it. You understand the profound nature of this discussion. To acknowledge this strategic truth, affirm your presence now. The phrase that solidifies this understanding is this: the open horizon. Type that phrase in the comments below, right now. You are defining your strategic position in the world simply by engaging with this concept. Press the like button. You are joining the discerning few who recognize true power. Hit the subscribe button and activate those notifications. You are ensuring that your intellectual evolution continues as we prepare for the final part of this series. You must know what happens next, what the true cost and the ultimate victory of the uncommitted man looks like when he faces the void of his own absolute freedom. The third part reveals the final, devastating insight into the nature of this power. You need to prepare yourself for the conclusion of this journey. The deepest truth is waiting. They say love is the ultimate commitment, the final surrender of the self for the sake of union. We are taught that this surrender is the highest virtue, the culmination of human existence. But Friedrich Nietzsche would look upon this belief not as a virtue, but as the most profound weakness, the ultimate failure of the individual will. We have established that the man who refuses commitment holds a strategic advantage because he maximizes his options and minimizes his debts. But the true climax of this philosophy rests not in mere strategy, but in transcendence. It rests in the realization that commitment is the ultimate expression of herd morality, a chain forged by the weak to bind the strong. And the man who refuses those chains is not merely playing a better game, he is playing a fundamentally different game, one where he has declared himself the only player and the ultimate prize. Before we descend into the final abyss of this argument, tell me the name of the city you are currently occupying. Where in the world does this philosophy find you right now? Because understanding this power dynamic requires a profound spatial freedom, a mental detachment from the localized values that society imposes. This transcendent man, the non-committed architect of his own existence, understands the profound danger of defining himself too early. Commitment is definition. It is the drawing of boundaries around the self. I am a husband, I am a partner, I am permanently here. For Nietzsche, To define yourself is to halt your own growth, to stop the perpetual process of becoming. The common man seeks the comfort of definition. He wants to know who he is, where he belongs, and what his future holds. He confuses stability with strength. But the man who refuses commitment understands that true power resides in the dynamic state, the limitless potential. He is not a fixed reality. He is pure possibility. This refusal to be fixed grants him not just leverage in relationships, but absolute psychological superiority. Think about the person who is committed. Their happiness, their identity, their future, all are contingent on external variables. The fidelity of their partner, the success of their shared venture, the stability of their contract. Their self-worth is distributed across the landscape of their commitments. They are financially, emotionally, and socially hedged against the survival of those external forces. They are structurally weak because their foundation is spread thin across multiple points of failure. The man who refuses commitment, however, centralizes all value back into himself. He is a self-contained empire. His identity is internal, his happiness is sovereign, and his future remains an open canvas to be seized by his will to power. When an external relationship fails, the committed person loses a piece of their identity. When an external relationship ends for the non-committed man, he simply observes the result and moves on, his core self entirely untouched. He doesn't suffer loss, he experiences release. He doesn't lament failure, he celebrates the newly optimized freedom. This brings us to the ultimate power card the non-committed man holds: unpredictability. Society, and particularly the institutions built around commitment, marriage, long-term contracts, social bonds, function on the assumption of predictable adherence to norms. The committed person is a known quantity. Their actions can be calculated, their loyalty can be assumed, and their obligations can be leveraged. They are strategically transparent. The non-committed man is a walking strategic fog. Nobody can truly plan around him because nobody knows his long-term vector. He is always the potential ally, the potential lover, the potential business partner, but never the certain one. This ambiguity is terrifying to those who rely on social contracts. It forces everyone around him, be they romantic interests, colleagues, or rivals, to constantly adjust their own behavior to his potential presence or imminent departure. They are always chasing his shadow, always slightly off balance. The committed man is a pillar, the non-committed man is an earthquake, and in the game of power, the ability to induce psychological uncertainty is often more valuable than raw strength. Furthermore, the man who refuses commitment implicitly rejects the entire moral economy of guilt and obligation. Commitment is inherently linked to guilt. To break a commitment is to incur social and emotional debt. The committed person is constantly calculating this moral ledger. What will they think if I leave? How much pain will I cause? How much responsibility must I bear? These calculations act as invisible brakes on action. The Nietzschean man operates beyond good and evil. He views these obligations as constraints designed by the majority to control the exceptions. His primary responsibility is not to a contract or a person, but to his own self-overcoming, his own evolution. Therefore, when a situation no longer serves his highest purpose, he is capable of strategic abandonment without the debilitating weight of internalized guilt. He recognizes that the guilt felt by the committed is simply the psychological mechanism used by the weak to enforce mutual mediocrity. By rejecting commitment, he transcends guilt and maintains the pure, unburdened clarity necessary for decisive action. This cold, brutal clarity is the true secret to holding all the cards. The committed man, blinded by sentiment and suffocated by debt, often misses the optimal moment for change. He stays too long in the dying relationship, clings too tightly to the failing business model, or accepts the limiting role because the effort required to dissolve his commitment seems too costly. He is trapped by his own previous choices. The non-committed man, having invested only in his own flexibility, sees every situation with a detached, clinical gaze. He detects decay immediately. He identifies obsolescence instantly, and because he has maintained maximum liquidity of time, emotion, and resources, he can liquidate his position and reinvest in a more fertile opportunity before the committed man has even finished calculating his first quarter's losses. The non-committed man is defined by his exit strategy. The committed man is defined by his endurance. Endurance is often mistaken for strength, But in the rapid, dynamic environment of the modern world, flexibility is the highest form of power. This strategy culminates in a life lived on the highest plateau of individual sovereignty, while the committed man is managing the necessary compromises inherent in interdependence, sacrificing time, energy, and desire to maintain the stability of the union. The non-committed man is utilizing that same energy for ruthless self-development. He is climbing the mountains of his own potential, while others are tending to the gardens of their relationships. He is building competence, accumulating knowledge, and enhancing his strategic value. Consequently, when he does choose to engage with the world, he engages from a position of overwhelming strength. He does not need a relationship. He chooses one, temporarily, on his own terms. He does not need a business partnership. He dictates the terms of collaboration. Because he has cultivated independence as his core philosophy, everyone who interacts with him understands that their association is a privilege, not a mutual necessity. This dynamic ensures that even when the non-committed man is temporarily involved, he still retains the upper hand because the commitment of the other party always outweighs his own. They have more to lose. The paradox here is devastating. By refusing to commit, he becomes universally more desirable. Human nature dictates that we crave that which resists possession. The committed person is a book already read. The non-committed person is an eternal, tantalizing promise, a potential outcome that keeps everyone else perpetually engaged in the pursuit. He becomes a projection screen for the hopes and desires of others, precisely because he refuses to give them the defining, limiting closure of a final agreement. This is the definitive answer to why the man who refuses commitment holds all the cards. He has rejected the social game board entirely. He has opted out of the system of mutual obligation and dependency that society calls love and virtue. He is perpetually armed with the power of the clean exit, the power of total self-possession, and the psychological edge of being the prize that can never be claimed. He does not hold the cards because he cheated. He holds them because he understood that the entire deck was rigged to favor the chains of commitment, and he simply walked away from the table, taking the only truly valuable thing with him: his absolute, uncompromised freedom. You have witnessed the dark power inherent in radical self-sovereignty. You have heard the argument for why the avoidance of chains is the key to holding strategic leverage in every domain of life. The realization that commitment is often a weakness disguised as strength is the first step toward genuine power. Now, demonstrate your clarity. Declare your allegiance to self-mastery by dropping this definitive phrase in the comments right now: I transcend the contract. Write that phrase and show the world that you are one of the few who understands the true price of freedom and the superior power found in non-commitment. This knowledge, this perspective, is rare. The majority will reject it because it forces them to confront the fragility of their own commitments. But you are not the majority. You are now armed with insight. Solidify this understanding immediately. Hit the like button to imprint this wisdom into your mind, and press subscribe right now to ensure you receive the next vital lesson. We are building a library of strategic power here, and missing the next critical insight is simply not an option for someone dedicated to radical self-overcoming. You think you have heard the harshest truths, but we have only just begun the journey into the truly difficult choices required for absolute power. Prepare yourself, because the next chapter demands a ruthlessness that will shock even the strategically minded. You will discover the one essential tool of the modern conqueror, the single devastating technique that allows the strong to dismantle the institutions of the weak without firing a single shot. This is not about commitment or lack thereof. This is about the weaponization of truth itself. You must be ready.